It's been a whole year now, and I finally have another excuse to do another Religious Hoedown. By now you all probably have some idea how this works, but for noobs and the forgetful, here's a quick refresher. I pick 4 religious video games and pit them against each other to decide which is the best. The games don't have to specifically fit a criteria, as pickings are slim enough, but this series covers games which are typically made about or for that religion, which are heavily based on that religion in its themes, or it's made in a country that is predominantly that religion, and this reflects in the product. This series is a fun little look into each religion's contribution to the world of video games, and seeing which effort bore the most fruit. The games and religions will be Muslim 3D for Islam, Kings of Isreal for Judaism, the Bible game on Game Boy for Christianity, and Cosmology of Kyoto for Buddhism. Muslim 3D is the long-awaited sequel to Muslim 2D, which was a Mario Brothers clone shipped with every NES in the Middle East. I kid of course, but that would have been fucking great. No, Muslim 3D is a 3D virtual pilgrimage game in which the player explores a 3D recreation of Mecca as their own personal avatar. It's currently in early access but has finished phase 1 of development, and the devs are currently implementing phase 2, which involves a story and RPG elements. As it stands, it's currently more of a 3D educational tool and a virtual tour than a video game, but it's still what I'd class as a video game, so let's get down to it. We're introduced with the version and what we can expect from this current build. I want to start right off the bat by saying that the dev team here have my utmost respect. No, really, if you look in their open forums, half their interactions with dickhead trolls trying to smear and harass them, and the other half are dickhead Muslims who are trying to shit on the project as haram. The devs deserve neither of these people trying to tunnel their way up their asses, and yet they handle every comment with professionalism and grace to an enviable degree. I mean, I would have probably punched one of these guys after 2 years of this shit, but these guys are gods amongst men. They're seriously a credit to both their religion and the games industry as a whole. The game starts off with this as the opening, and I wasn't aware that I could look around, so I was expecting some sort of cutscene to start and for this to be part of the beginning scene. Kinda like some artsy Deus Ex opening or something. But no, you can look around and wander around the elevator, a bit like Half-Life. It's a nice way of getting the level ready whilst allowing you to play, but there's not really much indication that this is explorable. I was just staring at the elevator door like I was having a stroke for the opening. The doors part and this guy approaches you. His name is Nadim. I like Nadim because he's the only person in the game who walks like a frog. Anyway, he welcomes you to the game, which is nice. It's super rare that someone personally greets you as soon as you start the game, and basically welcomes you to the game that you're playing. Nadim is like your game guide who introduces things to you and gets you accustomed to the environment. I probably could have figured it out on my own, but I appreciate the tour guide aesthetic that this gives, so I'll go along with it. I create my character and decide to go for a ginger dude with unkempt hair. This is Keith, dedicated Muslim.
Excellent. Allow me to give you a short introduction tour through Muslim 3D. Please come with me now.
Nadim is so enthusiastic at times he's terrifying. At this point it gives you the fanciest moving tutorial I think I've ever seen. It's unnecessary but elegant as fuck. So I barely get 3 minutes in and manage to fuck everything up by checking the graphical settings, and accidentally put myself in some sort of limbo, where I'm still in the menu but there's no menu to interact with. I can bring the menu back up, but no matter what I click, I end up stuck in this vicious cycle. In the end I had to forcibly crash the game and start again. I decided to go for a pasty ginger bloke with a pedo stash because, I don't know, he seemed the least appropriate for the setting and that kind of amused me. We arrive in the virtual lobby and Nadim explains what it connects to, and there is a map that shows us where we can go. Apparently more places will be available with Allah's help, but he didn't make any additional areas explorable for me. I always thought he and I were cool, but I guess not. I should probably mention that this game is £30 on Steam and is $44.99 in the US. the price is incredibly steep for an early access product, so early in development. I know the devs assure us that more content is to come, that DLC will be free for those who purchased earlier, and a few other incentives. The issue is that early access is almost a swear word amongst consumers these days, especially on Steam. An alarming majority of early access products are never finished on Steam, and the ones that aren't guaranteed to be quality, as devs have been known to quote-unquote fully released unfinished products after getting bored of developing them. This game clearly doesn't fall under the same category. I mean, it's no God Complex, that's for sure. It looks great and plays fine. It currently aches for content, but it's in early days, so I get that. There is a full game here, I guess, but it's not especially good as a game. It's a decent product, but its entire content can be beaten inside an hour. It's very rare that people will put this much faith and money into early access titles anymore. Hell, I only bought this for my video series, and even then I ummed and erred over spending £30 on what is basically a tech demo with promises that content will come someday. Yeah, the amount of times I've heard that, at this point, I don't take it seriously anymore. I presume that I'm wasting my money on early access products. I then meet this pink lady and mess up her AI path, and she walks into the fountain. Honestly, fucking with random NPCs in this game is definitely part of the fun for me. I arrive at the library and I'm told to speak to Sheikh Hakim at the front desk to learn more about the place. Sounds like a plan, man. So the library is a place where you can learn about Islamic law by collecting it in the world. I like this as a concept, but I wonder how much of this a Muslim would already know. I mean, it's great for me because I'm an ignorant little shit, but you know, people who are actually in the know, I don't know how valuable this would be to them. Sheikh Hakim is quite unsettling because he has like a monotone voice and he rarely blinks. He's either the first Muslim android or the first Muslim Oblivion NPC. Either way, he scares the shit out of me.
May Allah, who guides all believers, guide and protect you.
Did you see the message about the new book in the library?
Yes, Nadim, it's kind of hard to miss something that takes up about 5% of the screen.
Come with me. The book is right over here on the table below the stairs.
Oh, good system you guys have here. Yeah, fuck the Dewey Decimal System. You can find the information you're looking for in a book on a table under the stairs. Yo, Hakim, where's the book on famous Muslim basketball players? It is wedged behind the couch on the second floor between a half-eaten sandwich and Abdul's Game Boy that he left here in 1993. Sadly, Nadim lied to me, and this is where we learn the first rule about Mecca. Don't trust anyone. Especially not that bastard Nadim. Nah, I'm just being an idiot like usual, and I just had to talk to Nadim, who makes the book exist by mentioning it. That is one hell of a superpower. So we read the book of Muslim 3D, shit's getting better for me now, and learn about the origins of the game and its development. It's kind of nice to get a note about the game and the vision behind it, especially when we're in early access. Basically, they wanted to make a good Muslim-based video game, which is actually great because I feel like the market is actually aching for it. I mean, the Trail of Ibn Battuta people are literally the face of Islamic gaming now, and their games suck balls. So apparently phase 1 is more or less the world, and then we're going to get the RPG elements, which I'm guessing is more story, decision making, and running around and talking to people, as well as building relationships with key NPCs. I can't imagine there'll be dungeons, raids, and boss fights in this, unless Nadim's a much better fighter than he looks, and Hakim is a bit too protective of his library. Maybe those are like raid ideas that they're coming up with, I don't know. Finally, there will be an online mode where people can run around in a metaverse. Okay, I'm gonna hold off on talking about that because there's an area of the game that will make me want to bring this up and make this a bit more relevant. And it'll also keep me from gagging for a bit. We then have to walk this way to the museum.
I'm a sexy motherfucker. Sexy motherfucker. Sexy motherfucker. motherfucker.
Sexy motherfucker. Sexy motherfucker.
I decided to fuck around a bit and push this guy to the beginning of the long corridor we were walking down because I'm a colossal douche canoe. Here's the museum, and I have to admit, he isn't wrong when he calls it wonderful. It's my favourite attraction in the game. It features the world's biggest Quran, which is cool but seems kinda useless. The blue Quran, which is the result of 150 sheepskins. RIP the cast of furry tales, I guess. And this cool diorama that depicts how the human eye works, constructed centuries before anyone even knew for sure. It was made out of a box, a candle, and something else. I think it was like some foil or some shit. There's some bitchin' stuff that the Middle East was cooking up around the time of the Crusades and just before. And the Crusade was kind of beneficial to both sides because they got to steal each other's tech whilst invading each other's lands. In fact, the East at one point was on track to take over the West in certain areas technologically, but it was supposedly the invention of glass that gave a real advantage to the West. The paper blinds, for example, that the Chinese were using didn't do a good job of keeping the wind and rain out, so studies had to be abandoned on stormy nights. Also, a lot of scholars lost their eyesight in their old age and became useless, whereas the invention of glasses helped keep scholars active for that much longer. There were other advantages as well, but the gist of it is that they all added up and gave the West one hell of a boost. Still, just before and around the time of the Crusades, the East was coming up with all kinds of cool shit, and it's awesome to see it on display, as well as Muslim cultural advancements, as well as some of the prominent figures in the religion's history. I have to admit, it was genuinely interesting to walk around this area and read all the stuff, or at least as much of the stuff as I could get into in my playthrough without burning a hole in my hard drive, recording hours of me just staring at nothing. We finally enter the Hall of Dua. It's basically a shrine to backers of the project, which would be cool, but they refer to the plaques as in-game NFTs. Here we are at the Temple of NFTs, at the heart of the metaverse. If you're willing to part with somewhere between £250 and £1,000, you can have your name stapled onto one of these hallowed halls as an NFT. But that's not all. This virtual imam, who looks like Santa Claus, will pray for you night and day, and Allah himself will bless you. Now, if that's not a good fucking deal, I don't know what is. Sadly, I'm not Bruce Wayne, so this was never economically an option for me. But hey, if you're rich enough that you don't have to borrow a yacht from your dad, you might want to be immortalized this way. I do appreciate that this is basically like a Kickstarter backer award, but they refer to it as an NFT and a metaverse, which I think is a horrible mistake because you're sullying something quite innocent and making it gross. Nobody likes NFTs and metaverses. Hell, they almost killed Facebook, Ubisoft, and Square Enix. Honestly, I'd highly recommend dropping any and all reference to these things in future patches, because they're more likely to lose customers than anything, and they're not necessarily what I'd call NFTs. And this isn't what I'd qualify as a metaverse, it feels more like PlayStation Home for Muslims. I'd like to see this game succeed, which is why I say this. NFTs are a video game cancer and corporate AIDS. Pretty sure they're haram as well since they damage the environment. Regardless, I just would not recommend putting them in your game, especially not right now when they're absolutely toxic. Nobody likes them, and the people that do like them are delusional. So, in all honesty, drop this. Seriously, I'm saying this to help. Drop these things. Or at the very least, change the terminology. Just call them backer rewards and change metaverse to, I don't know, anything. Like, actually anything. It doesn't matter, just get rid of the references to NFTs and fucking metaverses, or you will go under, I promise. Now we must flee this temple of sin before we ourselves are sin. What, is that Agent 47 in disguise? Right, I'm gonna get out of here, I'm not safe.
Allow me to introduce you to Sister Mariam, our esteemed teacher. She and her husband Sheikh Hakim have dedicated their lives to learning and teaching.
Wait, that robotic librarian is married To that fireball? That must have been some direct intervention from Allah, surely.
Peace, mercy, and blessings of God be with you.
Oh, she's just as robotic as he is. That explains everything. She also has a very American accent. Maybe these two are like the Adam and Eve of androids. I mean, they're born in the place where Adam and Eve found each other again, so maybe it's symbolic and maybe they just sort of lived there as the first androids. I don't know. I'm adding some Detroit becoming human shit to this because fuck it, why not? I mean, the first robotic person is a citizen of Saudi Arabia, so yeah, it's possible. Anyway, it's off to the Great Mosque where the big box awaits us. The Kaaba. Yes, I knew that. I didn't Google it. I don't know if there's anything inside it. I asked a Muslim girl once and she didn't know. We assumed it was scrolls or something of that nature, like those Jewish ones that they keep in cabinets in synagogues. I thought it might be like the Pandorica from Doctor Who and some dudes trapped inside it. Turns out we were all wrong and it's just some big empty room with pedestal-like things inside. I mean, I guess, you know, that was an option. Anyway, there's this cupboard inside which contains scents and gifts, which I feel is close enough to the guess that there's religious texts in here. And there are technically religious texts on the walls, so I wasn't far off with my guess. Regardless, it's kind of interesting because this gave me an excuse to actually look it up and see what was inside. Part of me wondered if there was anything inside and if it wasn't just solid or like nobody was supposed to know. But no, apparently it is just this, which is, you know, good enough. I met Nadim in front of it, and this is where we part ways. I'm like really sad or something. I'll never forget your presidential facial hair and green towel, Neil. So, there are a few interactables that you can do here. I would have thought that touching the Kaaba would have been one, but apparently not. I thought that was like one of the big things that you were supposed to do whilst on pilgrimage, but it's either not part of the game or it's not, and I'm just stupid, I don't know. There's an activity where you and the boys walk around the Kaaba in a tawaf. I think I'm pronouncing that right, I'm sorry if I'm not. Which is basically a slow lap around the Kaaba, which apparently means walk around or to encircle. And you're supposed to do 7 anti-clockwise laps around the Kaaba. Each lap is called a short. The Prophet said that you receive 60 mercies for pulling off a successful tawaf, and another 60 for performing salah and gazing at the house of Allah. Apparently, doing 57 rounds of tawaf is enough to exonerate you of all your sins. It's like baptism, I guess. You and Allah are completely square. Now, the weight of this is quite significant and impressive from a spiritual standpoint, which is why I feel like the game doesn't really do it justice, as it just does it all on its own. You push a button to start a tawaf and Keith just walks around the rings, like around the Kaaba, and the player can just get up, go for a piss, make a brew, check Facebook, scratch his jockage, send a few unsolicited nose pics, read the news, and then by the time they get back to the game, they've done several laps of spiritual experience. I'd honestly say that it could do with a little bit of interactivity, maybe to highlight that there is a challenge and reward that's worth it for the faithful. I'm not talking about having to press a button for left foot and right foot or do some quick time events or anything dumb like that. But maybe it not being automatic and instead being a set path that the player has to manually walk through would at least make the player feel like they've accomplished something. I don't know, maybe it's just a me thing, but I can't help but find it funny that you can work your way to an enlightenment or a new beginning by not even being at your desk. Hey, Mr. Sweeper. Hey, you're not even holding it right. Your brush isn't even tucked in the floor, you fucking slacker. What the fuck? So, some guy sings one of those prayer songs like they do at Real Mecca. I was once at an airport in Dubai, or maybe it was when I got to Mumbai, and this sounded off and everyone in my tour group were momentarily confused as fuck. I then start the next mini-game, which involves the prayer mat. Actually, these aren't mini-games, they're more interactables, but it feels like they should be mini-games, as they're more or less most of the content of the game. I don't know, maybe they can make this like a dance mat thing that you have to push the buttons right or you fall over and make a tit yourself. I don't know. The animations were a bit confusing as I thought he was doing my real pose before sulking because he couldn't do as good of a job. But then I saw that this is part of the praying process, so I guess I'm just stupid. I then found the holy concrete bollards, which were apparently used in the Crusades to keep the English out. They worked really well because they were 100% idiot-proof. We then go to Safara Marwa, which I guessed was the #1 department store in all of Mecca, but it's actually a sort of simulation of the distance between two small hills of significance, which you walk to and from. It's simulated in a long, large building, which is kind of like an airport lounge, and it's part of the ritual pilgrimage. It's like one of the several things that you do when you visit Mecca to more or less, you know, leave a better person or something. Supposedly it's to simulate the story where Ibrahim, who's Islamic Abraham, left his son Ishmael, who I'm assuming is Isaac, and wife Hagar, or Hajar, delete where appropriate, in the valley, and she ran out of food and water and ended up running back in two between the two mountains 7 times. Eventually, Allah felt bad for her and sent the angel Gabriel down to make a spring of water to calm her down, which was named Zamzam. That's a fucking great name for a well, and thus created this ritual. This does explain why you have to run for certain parts of the ritual and why there's giant rocks on either side of the room. I had absolutely no idea about any of the backstory, so I thought the running parts were a race and I got super competitive to try and outrun my fellow pilgrims. I thought maybe if I won I'd be blessed with a special prize, and I thought maybe the big rocks were the meteors that killed the dinosaurs or something. I don't know. But anyway, it's nice to know the actual truth now. We then go to Jamarat, which is a giant tent. What the fuck am I doing here, Google? Oh, so apparently this is where we stone the devil and supposedly throw rocks at this stone monument to signify that we've basically struck out at the devil. It'd be cool if there was actually something to do in the game, but sadly there's nothing. It's just this and that's it. There are a few depressed janitors and a few bins. Hey look, one of the bins says 404. Fuck! Holy fuck guys, I've found Glastonbury. So this is Mina, and the comparison to Glastonbury isn't too far off since it is a massive tent field. The difference is that these guys are here for religion rather than rock music. Actually, to be honest, depending on some fans, that's not much of a difference actually, but you know. Here are some beardy boys having some fruit. Yo, can I have some? No? Oh, okay, I guess I'll go fuck myself. The janitorial staff here are a fucking joke. Look at this ass clown in his scrubs. Doesn't even know how to hold a broom properly. Daft twat. Holy fuck, guys. Nap time. Yes! This is by far my favourite thing about this place. There's a communal napping area. This should just be a thing in general. I mean, the Japanese do it, so why not us? Ooh, here are the tour buses for tonight's performing acts. I think that's actually the tour bus of everyone's favourite Middle Eastern pop sensation, Mustafa Goodtime. Ooh, and a cameo from the Incursion games. The fire extinguisher that's bigger than I am. Oh, I wonder what this is for. Oh, there was a public bathroom? Fuck, I just pissed in that fountain over there. We then go to Muzdalifa, which is basically Muslim park life. More napping areas. They sure as shit know how to get on my good side. I like these tents that look like boobs. The fuck is this? The wheelchair ramp is hard as fuck to get around because there's a barrier in the way, and if you do get around it, you either have to go up more stairs or open up a large metal door that no one in a wheelchair could reach or pull open. And if it pushes them back, there's a chance that they could go over the edge and whack their heads on the stairway. What happened to Blessed Are the Meek and all that horse shit? I know that's Christianity, but come on. Gonna go and say a prayer for all the poor bastards in wheelchairs who will likely die trying to get around this ableist death trap. Finally, we go to Mount Arafat, which we can climb. I ran around it to see if there's anything interesting. I like how the sand textures and the tile textures become one here. It's cool that the tiles just go all lumpy, but I don't think that's what they intended. Ha! I made it to the top of the mountain. I'm the king of the castle, and you're the dirty bastard. No, not you, the other dirty bastard. Down there. Yeah, him. Fuck you. Here I find the Washington Monument. Or something. Actually, Mount Arafat, not to be confused with Mount Ararat, is a large granite hill that Muhammad apparently gave his final sermon on top of. Apparently it's the place where Adam and Eve reunited after being booted out of the Garden of Eden and earned the name Mountain of Mercy. The monument is believed to be the place where they came together after being separated for all that time. That's nice. Apparently it's tradition to spend a day up here asking for Allah to forgive one's sins. Yeah, I think I'd need more than a day, to be honest. I returned to the House of Knowledge and fucked around in the museum for a bit before deciding that I'd finished my spiritual journey into Muslim 3D and it was time for me to move on to hopefully greener pastures. But I don't know, these religious hoedowns, anything can happen. Muslim 3D is a nice looking, decently put together and interestingly thought out game, and honestly I'd like to see it succeed. It's not a great game due to its lack of game, but as a product it's not too bad. My only issues are the steep price, the reliance on NFTs and metaverses, or at the very least using them as buzzwords, and its current lack of content. I mean, I paid £20 for Red Dead Redemption 2 last month and got about a week or two out of it. I paid more for this and got exactly an hour out of it. Am I shaking with rage? Not really, since it is in early access and the devs seem to be working hard on the game, but for people who can't part with £30 easily, this might seem like a bit of a bad purchase. To be honest, I'd be inclined to agree, for the time being at least. Unless this really appeals to you as an experience, I don't know if I'd recommend this game in its current state. Maybe when the RPG elements are added, the game might be better. I might even revisit it and be able to actually recommend it. But so far, the devs need money but are struggling to get buyers because it's too damned expensive. The devs have done a good job with this game and I hope to follow its future updates. Once Phase 2 is completed, I might revisit it, making this a living episode, I guess. Not sure I can promise that that'll happen, but I can try my best. So far, this is the best Islam-based video game I've had in the Religious Hoedown, but I don't think it holds a candle to the likes of the Shiva or 5 Champions of David, or Guardians of David, whatever the fuck it was called. The former was made on a much smaller budget by one guy and just as long as this was, and yet it found its way onto my list of favourite games, or at least most interesting games of all time. This, in all honesty, feels like it's lacking in a lot. And I feel like, hopefully, the end result will be worth it, but I'm not exactly holding my breath that we'll get there. It's an early access product, and buying it is a gamble. And honestly, any money you spend on an early access product, or a backed product, is more or less just money going down the toilet. All in all, I think they've done good on what they've worked on. I'd like to see the rest of it, and ideally, it will be a finished product someday, and I can come back and hopefully give it a glowing recommendation. Although I'd definitely put it on sale every once in a while, because not everyone wants to pay £30 for a video game, regardless of what it is.
Sexy motherfucker. Sexy motherfucker.
Excellent.
You know, I've actually found an amazing loophole in this format, where technically all Old Testament video games are Jewish and Christian games at the same time. Huzzah! I decided that Kings of Israel fits Judaism more than Christianity, as it's a game about saving a country of Jews from a king of Jews using the power of the Jewish prophets and out-rabbiing everyone in the process. Kings of Isreal is a board game video game somewhat like Armello or 100% Orange Juice or something of that vein. The rules of the game are long and over-explained, but the gist of it is that you need to build 7 idols whilst playing whack-a-mole with the evil Sing Clouds and evil idols. You get 2 hero characters to play as, given to you at random, and each one has a special ability that you can take advantage of to get ahead in the game. There's a round for each king of Israel there was, and depending on whether the king was a good king or a bad king, it affects the round. Also, rounds are somewhat hobbled if the king was short-lived, which I feel is a bit of a cop-out, but okay. This would affect more of the game, but like 3 of the kings are good, and by the halfway point of a game, like after so many rounds, you're never going to have a good king ever again, so it really doesn't matter. Although, admittedly, even the term good is debatable. David's a good king, apparently. Yeah, tell that to Uriah. At least we have a round where we're well protected by the Israeli boys. The game is explained decently, but it feels like a bombardment of information that results in confusion. I ended up more or less teaching myself how to play the game, doing my best to remember what I could from the tutorial, and re-explaining it to myself in a way that just wasn't information overload. Really, the biggest challenge is keeping hold of your resources without losing them to community cards or overstocking and losing something important. You only have so many slots and you need at least 1 of 3 items to build an idol, basically 1 of each of 3. After playing Armello, Hand of Fate and the Fallout board game, I was kind of looking forward to this as a brave shuffle into the world of video game board games. But sadly, I found this one was comparatively lacking. I get that it's a different genre to some of them, but I think it's quite comparable to Armello. Armello feels like it's a lot more special in every aspect, given that the heroes are well fleshed out characters and people feel somewhat invested in the game's world and its characters and its story and whatever else. There's also more investment as to what you're doing in the game because you have to amass the right items in order to get the right victory conditions. There are 4 methods of victory in Armello. Sometimes you work your way through the game with an ultimate plan, and others you just sort of take whatever victory you can manage. In this, there's 1 method of victory, and there's only 1 way to go about it, which isn't bad within itself. However, it does make every round of this seem the same. I played this 3 or 4 times, won once and lost the others. There's also no multiplayer in this, which is weird for a board game. Single player board games are a thing, but single player is usually an afterthought. Maybe having another player might make this a bit more enjoyable, but there's no online play. So if you did have another player controlling the other character, you'd have to do some complicated workaround like take some random homeless person hostage or arrange some Discord party where you do a screen share and people have control of your screen. The game looks, sounds and plays out nice. I didn't run into any performance issues or anything of that nature. It all looks a bit basic, but I get the impression that that's due to budget rather than a lack of caring. Everything they did well. The music is a nice touch, so its soundtrack is pretty good. The drawings of the characters are pretty well done, and the overall aesthetic of the game is consistent, and honestly, it's pretty nicely made as a product. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't as disappointed with how much I got out of this game. It's fine for the price and everything, but ideally a board game video game should keep you coming back. Like, I've played hundreds of hours of Elder Scrolls Legends because it's just something I do when I want to keep my brain semi-active. I have a few friends who are also addicted to Armello, and I was addicted to that Fallout board game for ages. This, I think you'd have a hard time playing it more times than I did, as it just gets very repetitive. It's not bad by any means, but I feel like I'm left wanting a lot more. Well, time to move on, I guess. You know, there is a second Israeli Boys game that I wanted to play in this, but it's so long I still haven't finished it, and I didn't want to tank myself before I even started on this project, more or less having to power through it. I mean, it could be hours and hours long for all I know. So I'll be leaving that for a future video, be it Religious Hoedown or maybe even its own venture. I guess we'll see. Join me next time for Christianity's contribution to this hoedown. So a few years ago on my original Religious Hoedown in 2017, I took a look at the Bible game on PS2, which was a virtual game show based around Bible questions and Bible-themed minigames. Upon finding out that there's a Game Boy version, I opted to take a look to see how the Game Boy translated to the PS2's simple but well executed little game. The answer was, it doesn't. It's a completely different game. The Bible game on Game Boy is an old school action adventure game, like the kind you'd find on NES or SNES. The best comparison I could come up with is the Bill and Ted video game on NES, in the way that it's designed at the very least. But this game is significantly better due to the fact that it wasn't made by LJN. The story of the game centers around the armor of God and acquiring the armor. These ignorant heathen children don't know what it is, so they're educated with a good thrashing. Nah, I'm just kidding. Sadly. This lady explains that the armor protects us from deceivers who are liars who cause us to make mistakes. I think this is more the armor of due diligence than the armor of God, but whatever. She explains that you can't see it and you gain it by studying the Bible, which we prove false in this game as we acquire a physical armor of God. Deceiver! Oh, no time for that now. The Master Deceiver has escaped. Who will save us now? Bible Man! So we're asked to pick a character. The girl seems like the most pure of heart when she says,
The armor of God will look good on me.
I mean, with that pureness of heart, how could she possibly be corrupted by dark forces? I select her and she loses her clothes, which are replaced by a white robe. That's odd, but okay. We're transported back to the 1950s where some old lady is waiting for us.
I think I saw a deceiver that way.
Oh, fuck. I'm sorry, but the combination of the Nazi salute and this Death Eater here, how do I not find this funny? Okay, so let me elaborate as to what we're looking at here. The game's objective is to build up a key out of key pieces. The key pieces are built up of fragments attained by defeating deceivers. Deceivers are little imp creatures, kinda like the ones from Oblivion. They fly around and you have to run up to them and thump them with your Bible. After Bible thumping them, you have to answer some questions on the Bible. You have to answer a good chunk of them correctly, and you get the key pieces. You get enough key pieces to form a key. You use the key to open the door and move on to the next level. You more or less have to figure this shit out for yourself, but it's at least really simple once you get the hang of it. Heretics. Please kill me. So the questions are mostly about the Bible, both Old and New Testaments. Most of my biblical knowledge comes from The Simpsons, Johnny Cash songs, 5 Guardians of David, and being groomed by a death cult. So yeah, I'm sure I'll ace this. So on the first level, the questions are quite softball, and most of them would probably be answerable to most people. Like, who's Abraham's son, and that kind of jazz. They get much harder later on, and I ended up having to Google a lot of them towards the end. Even then, the questions surpassed even my Google foo skills, and some of the answers that Google gave me were apparently wrong. In some cases, the Bible game itself misspelled characters' names, calling one of them Rehab instead of the name that they're actually supposed to have. My least favourite kind of question in the game is like, who said one in the pink and one in the stink? Was it Paul, John, or Peter? I don't fucking know. One of them said it. Can't that be enough? Does credit really matter when you're doing the Lord's work? Fine, fuck you, I guess. I find it hard to properly guess because they all have the same personality as far as I can tell. It's not like picking quotes from Joey Chandler and Ross. They all have the exact same demeanor and the same writing style, so who the fuck knows which one said it? I'm pretty sure actual devout Christians would have a hard time getting every single one of those right. Unless there's literally a guy who can read one of these passages and go, ah, classic Luke, ah, John, you old devil, like, no. So, I defeated the last of this level's deceivers on the steps of a church, and it opened the way to the next level. said level is a desert oasis full of scarabs, palm trees, and sand.
I don't like sand.
Fuck off. I accidentally killed myself by hitting a suicide button. Note that this was an emulation problem, by the way, not a game problem. And find out upon death that respawning, you do a weird flip in the air. So I guess that was good. I asked Sinbad over here where the fuck I go next, and he points to this road. I follow his exact instructions, only to find nothing.
I think I saw a deceiver. That way.
No, Sinbad. The only deceiver around these parts is you. By now, I've acquired the skirt and boots of the Crusader, and have ended up in some fairy tale forest. How did I go from the 1950s to this? It really doesn't have much logical flow to it. A bridge appears after I defeat enough deceivers, commencing the most irritating level to navigate, as it all looks the same and the bits that are sectioned off are arbitrary as fuck. I then meet some weirdo who stands around holding some sort of club who tells me where the Redeemer is. I swear these characters are often setting accurate, but they still feel weird. Like, I'm not sure what this guy is meant to be. At least Sinbad fit the setting and made some sense. You also have to enter these semi-platformer segments where it turns into a really shit side-scroller, and you have to run from one end to the other, jumping over holes and not getting eaten alive by scarabs. It's not bad when you have a rhythm going, but the odd occasion that I missed the mark or didn't jump in time was somewhat annoying. I think you end up mostly getting banished outside of the cave and having to find your way back in again. I don't feel like these segments add much, especially not in the early stages. Granted, they do allow you to go to different parts of the levels using the same doorway and navigating the cave system differently every time, but in all honesty, I'd just prefer there to be different doors that took you to different places instead, because this is just kind of annoying. Especially in the later levels, where it's like a massive underground maze that doesn't make any fucking sense. The Redeemers in this game have really weird voices, with really weird voice effects, and weird dialogue.
This ought to be interesting. If at first you don't succeed, quit.
I believe their voices get deeper the lower into hell you descend, but I could be wrong. Who was the mother of Dinah? How the fuck should I know? The next level is, I don't know, the 90s or something. I mean, looking at how people dress in some of these levels, I couldn't honestly tell you when or where they're supposed to be. This level was especially difficult to navigate, but even more difficult to answer the questions for. This is where the difficulty really ramps up. So I beat this level and unlocked the helmet of the Crusader, or whatever we're calling it. It has a red Roman plume, which I was pretty sure was unique to this game, but apparently there are a handful of depictions of the armor of God that have a red Roman plume. I don't quite get why, but okay. After a bit of playing, the questions get a lot more frustrating. For example, in this question, it asks where the fuck the angel stood in this part of the story. So I look it up and get met with this painting, where the angel is stood on the left. So I tried that as the answer, and it's apparently wrong. So fuck you, painter of the painting. Fuck you. Should have paid more fucking attention in fucking Sunday school, you prick. So this level is a bit weird because the fucking deceivers are on an island, and this causes the AI to shit itself, so no matter where you ask them, they point in the wrong direction. Like, they keep trying to tell you that they're in the middle of the ocean, which they're not. So you more or less have to navigate this network of tunnels in order to find the fuckers. And this is what I was talking about earlier. I honestly much prefer just to not have this in the game. Sure, it would be a lot easier to the point where it would be kind of ridiculously easy, but I prefer that to running around these fucking caves for hours. I reached the final level, which is like Tesco value Mount Doom. Like, it's not quite as good. It's like Pontins compared to Disneyland. So the final thing is the quiz to end all quizzes. This gets you the greatest ending of any game ever.
I kick ass for the Lord.
I might just give this game the prize for the hoedown, just based on that ending. I mean, fuck man, Kojima and David Cage would have wet dreams over an ending that deep and meaningful and fucking ambiguous. This, overall, is a decently made game. It's dated for its time and repetitive as fuck, but I've played worse. I feel it was surprising how different this game was to the PS2 counterpart. Not sure what I expected, but I feel like the surprise was pleasant. It was at least interesting, at the very least. I feel that this was more of a game than the other two games. It was an alright little thing, but it didn't really have enough content in it to take 4 or so hours to beat. I look over it and most of my playtime is just looking at these fucking Bible questions, and that's far from fun. Muslim 3D was less of a game than this, but a lot more fun and enjoyable. This one kind of felt like it outstayed its welcome. Like, if this was 2 hours shorter, I probably would have enjoyed it all around. I got more out of it than Kings of Isreal, at least in terms of footage and things to talk about, but I found Kings of Isreal to be a much more enjoyable game. Well, that's 3 out of 4. Join me next time for the finale, where we go to Kyoto, Japan, and explore a video game that Roger Ebert loves the shit out of. Which should hopefully be soon, unless YouTube puts me back on the naughty step for dunking on pedophiles. Toodles.
You are a liar, actress, go the fuck out.
This episode of Curiosity's Sake was made possible by the Collection Chamber at collectionchamber.blogspot.com. This site is an amazing project dedicated to restoring video games from the DOS era that are unplayable by modern means. There's already hundreds of games available on the site, and they're as easy to play as a simple downloadable exe. The site's owners, Biffman101 and Hero of Avalon, have been working hard to bring us some of the best games of our childhood, making them playable for free, and I'd highly recommend that viewers check out this blog site, as I'm sure that he has something that'll pique your interest.
Cosmology of Kyoto is a 1995 DOS game based around Buddhism, Japanese folklore, and the historical period of 900 AD. Kyoto. I nearly said Tokyo there, and I just suddenly realised after all this time that Kyoto is just an anagram of Tokyo. So, man, they were lazy. Anyway, one of the game's biggest flexes is that the movie critic Roger Ebert apparently got hooked on this game for 2 or so weeks and utterly geeked out over it. I'm going to say as little as possible about the game so I can just jump right into it. Let's go. So you start off by picking your name, gender, and marriage status. I decided to go for a self-insert and said that I'm a man, I'm married. Technically not married, but it's the closest in terms of accuracy. You then make a face out of what feels like a very limited virtual sketch artist's thingy, and they all look vaguely similar. There is a point to this though, as we will later see, but for now I just did what I could. There, perfect. There's 3 body types, fat, thin, and somewhere in the middle. I went for thin.
There's a really important reason why I'm telling you this. It's because you're entitled to exposition to get your background fix.
You get a prologue scroll setting the scene. Kyoto is the new capital of Japan, and everyone has plenty of reason to be happy. What with the extreme poverty and whatnot. There's a new emperor who supposedly got the job by murdering a bunch of people, which is unheard of in the world of medieval politics. Anyway, this has unleashed a bunch of angry ghosts who have more or less drawn demons and goblins to the capital. 1,000 years across space and time, a psychic journey begins. So it implies that you're kind of experiencing this whole thing through some sort of time portal. A time of crazy demons, ghosts, goblins, dogs and cats living together, just mass hysteria. We're then greeted by several mythical beasts that represent north, south, east and west. My favourite of them is the Doofy Tiger, which represents the West. This CGI is actually quite impressive for the time. This game was released in 1995, the year that I was born, which makes it one of the oldest games I've covered on the show. I think Who Shot Johnny Rock is currently the oldest game, as that was originally made in 1991. You get a 3D map of the city and it has absolutely no context, so I just end up sort of clicking around and just hoping that it goes away. I just kind of want to play the game, I don't care where I end up.
Welcome to the rice fields, motherfucker!
So I end up in a rice field where I find a mirror. Yep, that's me, handsome boy that I am. So I fuck around a bit and find out that there's actually a very extensive encyclopedia that's part of this game. It's a really cool little feature and must have taken a lot of effort to put in, for which they have my respect. I stumble upon a corpse wearing some sort of wizard's outfit, or maybe a gnome outfit, which I pry off the corpse and put on my own body like a healthy person would. Perfect. There was also a big bag of money on the corpse, which I pocketed. I walk a little over here and I'm harassed by some weird demon, who I'm able to make go away by clicking on him. It drops a birdhouse on a stick, which apparently is an amulet according to the game's inventory screen. Okay, sure. Also, during this part of the game, there's this creepy, ominous laughter overheard, which I don't like because it seems to be getting louder the longer that I'm here. So I need to get the fuck out of here before I get bummed or something. So at this point, I'm lost and confused and resort to fucking around for 5 minutes. I look it up on my phone and learn that there aren't really any controls for this game. You just sort of click on stuff. So that simplifies things at least. I eventually click on the rice field and it parts like the Red Sea, revealing the grand city of Kyoto. Yay, I'm not stuck in the rice field anymore. I arrive through the main gate of the city and take in its splendor. I encounter a cat? Or a fox? Well, only one way to find out. Taste test. Come here, little creature. I followed the fox into the street, and this is where the game truly begins. I do kind of appreciate that there is something leading you into the starting point of the game. It's actually a very clever bit of game design. I see what I thought was the fox, but it's actually an old lady hunched over before a Buddha statue. She's seemingly trying to eat it. I decided to click on her to see if she can help me in my quest of finding out what the fuck is going on. Like, in general. Ah! It sounds like she's in pain trying to speak. Are you a shrunken head, missus? Are you okay? According to her, this Buddha statue saved Kobo-san's life. I'll take her word for that, though it didn't seem to do much for her, because she still looks like a living dead, so... I then come across these crackheads who are asking for a handout. Should have earned their money like I did. Also, one of them has the voice of an anime girl, and it's just really unfitting. Like, she sounds like a high school girl in one of those sillier animes. I then meet this guy who's singing to himself walking down the road, because that's not a red flag. Ah, could people stop doing that? Is there some way that I can help you? Yeah, you could tell me what the fuck's going on. So he asks if I want to go to a temple with him, and I have to type in an answer. As far as I'm aware, only no and yes are accepted. Anything else just results in him informing you that he has no idea what you're saying. This game is a bit glitchy, presumably because of its age and DOSBox emulation, so I had to fuck around a bit to actually get him to understand me. Wow, it's very, immersive. It feels like I'm an actual tourist. I did say a few things I knew wouldn't work just for fun, though.
私は日蔵と申します。これから当時に密教の修行に
Oh, is that
参
where the
りますが、
autism
労
demons
働な
live?
されますか？
Are you going that way? I haven't a fucking clue, mate.
何を申されておるの
What
で
is
すか？
it that you're saying? I'm lost and confused.
何を申されておるのですか？
Why is your head an egg, sir?
何を申されておるのですか？
Maybe.
何を申されておるのですか？
I have money. Do you want it?
何を申されておるのですか？
I hate you.
何を申されておるのですか？
Yes.
何を申されておるのですか？
Why?
何を申されておるのですか？
Suck my dick.
何を申されておるのですか？
Saying fuck off. Yes, I'll do whatever. Just go away.
何を申されておるのですか？
I'm going to the temple.
何を申されておるのですか？
Anyway, I eventually got through to him and he led me to the temple. I took this as an opportunity to run away, but then reconsidered, since he's the first sentient human I've come across, so we might as well stick together. So I let this strange man take the lead into the temple. He announces his name and the temple doors part for him. This dude's kind of badass. This is the main hall, where Medicine Buddha is worshipped. I didn't know there was a Medicine Buddha up until now, but I'll take his word for it, he is the priest after all. Apparently there is a lecture hall that was built by Kobo Dishi himself. I have no idea who that is, but the dude can make a good building, I'll give him that. Do you think that many people turn up for these lectures, or is it just this one dude behind his podium just pretending he has an audience? You know, a bit like me. I better enjoy my visit after the nightmare I had trying to get through to you. So I enter the temple and click on the lectern and some weird shit starts to happen. I'm visited by the ghost of Buddha or something? What the fuck? So after witnessing that horror, this guy just casually walked past me. Like, yeah, he just sees this every day. There's nothing to him. I then find a tower. Now that is a tower. So I then walk in and some weird shit happens. Oh yeah, if you think it's been weird up until now, you're gonna be nostalgic for these days, believe me. Marge Simpson's necklace floats in front of me. Then someone lights a bong, and then devils appear all around me. And then some more stuff is added and Buddha appears. I don't know, I really don't know. Then there's a flash of light and I end up in space. With that bear that Hercules threw, presumably. I think he's floating around there somewhere. Apparently this is Buddha showing me the entire universe. Could have done with a bit more context, my golden friend, but thanks anyway. After being shown the universe, this dude comes back and asks me if I want to dedicate my entire life to a religion based around some bullshit I've just seen. No. No thank you, friend. He respects my decision and hands me a scroll for my protection. This actually comes in handy later down the line. Like, a lot. So, back to aimlessly wandering the streets for me. I come across some children playing some sort of ball game, and I accidentally take their ball by clicking on it. They get mad at me, and fearing for my life, I just throw it anywhere, like I'm just desperate to get rid of it. One of the daft little shits hits the ball and it hits a random carriage that's passing through. The carriage is carrying some sort of aristocrat, and the driver isn't too happy about it. The commotion actually brings out the aristocrat, who's actually just more pissed that the driver's making an issue out of it. Well, that escalated quickly.
One day you died for me, and I'm willing to die for you.
Why, you stupid little fool!
I then arrive at Fort Crackhead. I think that's its name. I don't know. That's the name I'm giving it. Someone keeps saying this way, but I don't know who it is. I still don't. I think it could be the guy in the city selling something, or maybe it's the crackheads and I wasn't able to find a way to click on the right one. So I arrive in the city, or the closest thing to a city anyway, and some dude is here trying to sell me medicine. I tell him I'll come back if I need any. Everyone is trying to sell something here, so might as well shop around. I notice some people are gathering around some bald twat holding a stick, so I approach because he's apparently really wise, but all he can seemingly do is babble about his happy place or some shit. This town takes some fucking around to navigate, but it eventually makes some kind of sense. I found some dude throwing up on the floor. Oh, so this is just basically Japan's version of my hometown then. This is the most persistent fishmonger I've ever met in my entire life. So, I approached this crowd of people because I was legit worried that this was some sort of fellatio thing going on, but the kids parted and it turned out to just be a harmless cockfight. However, I wasn't able to back out the moment that I clicked on it, and I was forced to place a bet before I could do so. I like to think that my character was sort of pressured into it, like he was just surrounded by people expecting him to do it, so he just sort of did it. I backed the little guy, who turned out to be utterly destroyed. Fucking chicken piece of shit. So after losing a money piece, I turn back into town and meet the craziest rice seller I think I've ever encountered. I mean, I've met some crazy fucking rice sellers in my time, but this guy takes the fucking cake. Tempted to just sample some of his rice to see if it makes me as crazy as he is. Maybe it's got LSD in it or something. Then I come across these needy twats who want a handout. Should have bet on the cockfighting like I did. That turned out to be profitable. Their misery is the most entertaining thing in this town, so I just sort of bask in it for a bit. I then meet two dudes who have this lady at sword point, and I apparently have to pay them or they'll kill her. Because I'm super duper nice, I gave my last shekel away, and they took it despite it not being enough to save her life. So they just killed her anyway. See, this is what being nice gets you. I finally managed to find a way out of that town where I encountered these guys. No idea who the fuck they are or why they're around. So I go into this place and a ghost greets me at the front door and tells me that I've wandered into this domain and that I should know who he is. I don't. So I admit that, and he tells me to fuck off. He tells you that regardless of what you say, so it doesn't really matter. I then walk down an alleyway and end up walking in on some kinky shit. This guy with a sword tells me that it's my money or my life. I don't have any money, so he just kills me. My medieval me transforms into whatever the fuck this is, and game over? Well, no, this is actually where death comes into it. You see, death is not the end in this game, and is actually just a bit of an inconvenience. When killed, you are transported to the 6 realms of existence, where you witness some fucked up imagery, really driving home the hell vibe. So after an ogre drives nails into my tongue, a giant chicken eats my brain, 2 Oni creatures force me to swallow some sort of red-hot ball, and I suddenly think that my own body is the tastiest thing in the world and just eat myself. I notice that Buddha is waiting for me behind some rocks. I go to him and he falls back into the light and offers me a new body. So yeah, after dying you fully reincarnate. It's almost like a Doctor Who regeneration. Your old character model is replaced with a new one. Now I'm a chubby bastard with a square head. Great. Did all that work keeping up my figure for fucking nothing? I actually really respect this for 2 reasons. The first, it's a quite unique way for death to work in a video game. There's a real consequence for it, but it's not the end of gameplay at all. And if anything, it changes things up just a little bit. The second, from a Religious Hoedown perspective, is that it's awesome how Buddhism is actually translated into a game mechanic. I haven't seen this since the Pilgrim's Progress, where the attacks are like prayers and Christian values and shit. Thirdly, I do have to commend Buddha, because unlike Jesus and Muhammad, he didn't just leave me to die, he actually came back and saved me. So you know what? From this point onwards, Buddha is my G. I arrive at this flower house where there's a ghost lady. Some little girl servant, or whatever she is, maybe she's her pet, I don't know. But she tells me that the lady of her house has something for me. It's apparently a poem of some sort. She's actually one of the few pretty people in the game, and also one of the few people who isn't hiding some horrible disfigurement behind a fan. So bask in this. She then tells me to meet her later on at Kawaranoin. Karen, whatever. I don't know where that is, I don't know what that is, but I sure as fuck am excited. I then run into the Ku Klux Klan, who are doing some sort of funeral procession. Some random dude asked me if I believe that the dead have souls. So I tell him that I know that they do for a fact, because I just went to hell a couple of minutes ago, and I was reincarnated. He tells me I'm crazy and fucks off. I mean, I can't blame him, but... I find some birds eating a corpse, so I look at the corpse and it turns into a pregnant woman, then a rotten pregnant woman, then a skeleton, and then dust. Right, okay, you do you, sister. I then look inside this box, and, well, I got my money's worth. Oh shit, there's that prick that murdered her. I'm going the long way around. I then arrive at this house where this dude is waiting for me. He's some sort of exorcist who is here to kick the ass of some goblins and wants me to tag along for some reason. So after agreeing to follow the intense exorcist into the house, I'm greeted by this horrific courtyard in which I don't know what to do. There's a door on the right, a woman comes out with her fan, which is an ill omen in this game. Nothing good ever comes of that. She pulls her fan down to reveal her dick nose. This is nothing compared to the left, which causes a horde of children to run into the building. Yeah, I'll take the dick nose, thanks. Finally, the ceiling is full of spirits of the damned. Still not as bad as the horde of children. After fucking around a bit, all of the events happen at once, and an old man appears to tell us that this is his house and we need to fuck off. Exorcist Eric is having none of that and tells him that he's an arsehole and a goblin collaborator, and he manages to defeat him somehow.
なんじゃと。
ここは私が長年住んでおります家。どうかお帰りください。
何を申す。人を脅かして住まわせず、強引に座るとは何事か。鬼神にもあるまじき行い、天の罰を被るぞ。出て行け。
Then he, the goblins and the children all run off into the night. And that solves that, I guess. I walk a bit further down the road and these dudes are just looking at a house. Turns out the brown guy's wife is deceased and he needs to exorcise her by riding her like a horse. Pretty sure there are just some necrophiles here just pulling an overwhelming cope, but whatever. Part of me wants to go try catch up with Exorcist Eric to see what he thinks of this, because I'm pretty sure I trust him more than these guys. I move on from that place and an evil cloud flies off onto the horizon. I don't know, I just don't know. At this point, this is the least weird thing that's happened to me today. I then bump into these bozos who murder me for no fucking reason. I don't know, maybe it's just some sort of holiday that I'm just not catching on to. I became a little onion demon who gets the shit kicked out of him by an Oni, I think? Then I become a human pincushion because people just fire arrows at me for no real reason. And then Japanese Phalus and his retarded elephant yell at me about something before fucking the life back into me. And I reincarnate back into a thinner guy with a square head and the face of the pointy head boss from Dilbert. I don't know if this is the best or the worst role I've had yet. So I loot my own corpse and I move on. Never thought I'd say that. I got to a place and I'm told that this place is closed to common people. Go back. So I do. Because I just died and I'm not in the mood to do it again. I then find a forest on the outskirts of Kyoto where a purple people eater is seen entering. I follow them in to see what's what. So this brown robed dude emerges carrying a severed head. Because, I don't know, he wanted to show me it because he's really proud of it or something. He's so edgy, look at that smirk. He then morphs into some sort of demon. Okay, cool. I don't have a severed head to compete with, but I do have that scroll that the priest gave me, and I hope that's cool enough to compete. So I contribute to show and tell by pulling out my scroll, and, well, he doesn't seem to like it, and he runs away. Oh, I thought I made a friend there. Then there's another woman with a fan. Oh, this'll go well. Oh good, she creepily laughs as well. That just adds to the charm, really. I'm really confident about this one. Okay, pull down the fan. Let's see what we're dealing with. Oh. Oh, you're a normal human. You're not. Oh, there it is. Get me the fuck back to civilization. I approach this here wagon to find it's just a wagon and it moves you from one place to another. Fascinating. I didn't even get murdered or propositioned by a fox. What is this? I then find another carriage which has been pretty badly fucked up and there's a demon waiting for me inside. Hey demon, look at my scroll. Oh. He didn't like it either. Shame. What the fuck is this? Alright, calm your titties, I was just looking. So this dude is apparently keeping evil spirits and demons at bay. This is like the bad part of town, if that's even possible, where all the demons apparently live. And this guy's doing his best to stop them. Shame he couldn't stop me from getting covered in kitsune piss, but whatever. If I truly value my life, I should leave now. Except I don't, because death is just a minor inconvenience for me. So I'm alright, mate, don't worry about me. You got a towel? This guy has a flair for the dramatic, I'll admit, but he does deal with demons all day, and I know for a fact that that's a fucking nightmare on its own, so I don't blame him. So I walk over here and there's a little demon goblin fuck running around in the fields, and his mates are apparently fascinated by this corpse. I try walking down the street, but the ghost of this asshole tells me that someone important is walking down that street, so I have to take a different one. This is like the time that Kim Kardashian made my parents wait outside while she shopped in Paris. Fuck this guy. I can't seem to go the other route, as I go all funny when I have to go that way, so no idea why, but I guess I'm just kind of stuck in this district for now. I walk a bit further down the street and holy fuck! The shit happened here! So this one does have some explanation behind it, though I had to look it up. Supposedly this is the Kazan Stone, according to the collection chamber archivist Biffman, though I've also found stuff on it that suggests it's the Nagata meteorite. This was witnessed in 1861, around May 19th, by a young boy who saw it fall from the sky. That must have been a fucking trip back in the day, just walking down the street and seeing a giant ball of fire fall and blow up everything around you. I mean, now there's things to rationalize it, but back then, it's anyone's guess. Regardless, it's a cool little feature to have this sort of historical moment in the game. So I go back to this guy and decide to play fuck around and find out with the demons. I met this blue guy in his undies, who I show my cool scroll and he shits himself and runs away. Damn demons have no appreciation for fine scroll work. I get back to these boys and the corpse to see what's up with that. Maybe there's something fascinating I'm just not seeing. The corpse morphs into a woman who is about to come to life, and she's actually making eyes at me, but this guy runs in and stops the ritual. Apparently they're trying to resurrect dead people to make new ones. I think the new people will be demonically possessed or something. Or maybe this was a Jesus-esque resurrection and this guy fucked it up. I would have liked to have seen where this goes, but I understand that he doesn't, because he's normal, so I'll leave him to it. He then tells me to go away, so I guess I probably should.
That's funny!
Now, believe it or not, everything that you've just witnessed was achieved in an hour of me playing this game. I shit you not, my recording file is 1 hour, 3 minutes and 30 seconds, and all of that happened during that time. Holy shit. Cosmology of Kyoto isn't as much of a video game as it is a wonderful trip. Hell, I'd even go as call it the best drug trip I've ever taken in my entire life. It's an experience that defies explanation, and yet it's so well thought out and interesting. I genuinely enjoyed the weird and wonderful world of cosmology in Kyoto, and I would recommend anyone try this game for themselves. Thanks to the collection chamber, this game became available to download, and it should work on most PCs, minus the text issue highlighted earlier. Still, the game's free and it works when it probably shouldn't, so I wouldn't ever say anyone has a right to complain. It's a beautifully crafted piece of art which achieves everything it sets out to do. It has an exquisitely implemented overtone of just depression, which just adds to the foreboding atmosphere. At all time, they achieve this ominous overhang, which just really has a strong atmosphere and creates a brilliant vibe throughout the game. You strongly feel it behind every encounter, and it can really just result in anything happening. There's no safety here. Literally any crazy shit can happen. And I was just really happy to go along with the ride. It really gives the game a unique feeling, and it's very difficult to predict what you'll run into next. I have to admit, this Religious Hoedown has ended up being one of the hardest ones to pick a winner for, but I shall do my best. Oh, Christ, that was a trip. Well, I guess all we've got to do now is tally up the...
Hello there, new channel update. I'm going to be cancelling all of my series now because I'm going to make a new one called Fucking Trains. So in this episode of Fucking Trains, we're going to be talking about the Class A locomotive, which was rolled out in the 1950s. Wait, no it wasn't. You son of a bitch. It was rolled out in the 1930s. Welcome to our first episode of Fucking Trains. In this episode we're going to be talking about the Norfolk Western Railway Class A. Wow, that was a lot of shit to say. It was a class of 43 2664 steam locomotives built by the railroad's own Roanoke shops between 1936 and 1950, and it operated until the very late 50s. So these locomotives have a very sexy cast steel frame and Timken roller bearings on nearly every surface. The last 5 had McGill multi-roll roller bearings? Why is it called multi-roll roller? That is so fucking weird to say. But anyway, in the side and main rods. And that is really cool. Another thing as well is that they were assigned to freight services, and they had to pull slower heavy freight trains as well as a fast frame. What? Unfortunately, this train ended up on the scrap heap when those sexier diesel trains came along in the late 50s. So, unfortunately, it did actually work just as well as those, but unfortunately, it did not have the same amount of energy reservation that we really needed at the time. Plus, the diesel ones had kind of already been built and we just wanted to put them out there at this point. Sadly, all of these trains have been retired and only one of them exists today. It was preserved and it was number 1218. It was retired in 1959 and the same year it was purchased by the Union Carbide Company in Charleston, West Virginia, where it was used as a stationary boiler at a chemical plant. In 1965, it was repurchased by New England millionaire F. Nelson Blount for his locomotive collection in Steamtown, USA. Join me next time as we talk more about fucking trains!
Professor Curious is a fucking spurg.
Well, here we are, end of the line again. And now I've just got to decide which of these 4 games that I've played is my favourite and which one is my least favourite. Now, to tell the truth, this is one of the hardest ones I've had to do, because I feel like all of these are good in their own right, but also not so good in their own right. Like, for example, Cosmology of Kyoto was really enjoyable as an experience, but if I put it as the best game, I don't know if that's entirely honest, because as a game, it's not very gamey, if that makes any semblance of sense. It's like a walking interactable simulator. Meanwhile, you've got things like Muslim 3D, which is well made, but again, not much of a game. But then you've got games like the Bible game, which is a game, but I wouldn't call it the greatest of games I've ever played. Finally, you got Kings of Isreal, which kind of balances out as to being a decent game, but also a decent experience, but it's probably my least favourite of the bunch, so it's like, how do I rate this one? In all honesty, I kind of want to cop out and do categories, but I won't. I'm not that kind of pussy. I'll actually declare a winner. So I've decided, in my own personal opinion, these are the games in the order that I personally feel I enjoyed them. So, the first one is obviously Cosmology of Kyoto, because that game was a once-in-a-lifetime trip for me. I honestly loved every second of that nightmare of a game, and in all honesty, the only reason why I don't know if I'll ever go back to playing it is because I don't think the experience will be good the second time. Like, I don't think I could possibly get the same out of it the second time, but it is a very enjoyable game. The second one on my list, I will say, is Muslim 3D, because I found it to be a very interesting product and a fun experience. It was fun to make fun of in a way. It was also quite well made for what it was, But at the same time, despite the fact that it's got a bit of a setback, that it's not very finished, and it's also not much of a game, in my honest opinion, I had quite a bit of fun with this one, whereas the other two were middling or not so much. The third one I'll say is Kings of Isreal. Now, admittedly, the Bible game, I think, is a better designed game and you get more out of it. But at the same time, Kings of Isreal, I think, was a much more enjoyable game whilst it lasted. The Bible game's shortcoming, in my opinion, is it's like 4 hours long. And that's way too long for a game like that. It is so long, and most of it is just staring at a quiz. So unfortunately, the Bible game comes fourth. But the sad reality is, I wouldn't even say that's because it's the worst game of the bunch. It was just the one I enjoyed the least, and even that was because of long-term exposure. 4 hours of gameplay was just way too much for such a simple game. So in all honesty, I think if I was working on varying criterias, the results would look a lot more different. But I'm just working this based off of how much I personally enjoyed the game and how much I feel it's enjoyable as a product. So, I will say Cosmology of Kyoto gets my number 1 spot, Muslim 3D gets my number 2 spot, Kings of Isreal gets my number 3 spot, and the Bible game gets my number 4 spot. Some people might disagree, some people might have their own takes on that, but I personally feel that is the case. And I am actually quite... I mean, I'm obviously ad-libbing this, and I'm at a point where I'm just sort of looking back over the work, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, that was a hefty hoedown, and it also was one of the most interesting ones, just for how I didn't actually hate any of these games. Like, there's no Ibn Battuta or Ramayama level of game. They're all actually competent games in their own right, and I kind of appreciate that. The only thing that I feel could have worked a bit better with these games is, I feel like they all sort of were different in many ways. Like, Kyoto Muslim 3D were a bit closer to each other than the other two. But I will say as well, another thing that I feel sort of clashes is that one of them's an unfinished early access game as well, which I don't know if I can fully say whether or not it's a good game because it's not finished. But yeah, once again, I'm just really glad that I did this to myself. Join me next time when well, I'm kind of torn as to what I'll be doing next time because I have a couple of games on my list. Don't worry, they're all good.